I'm going to talk really quickly about white spaces and the digital TV transition, which are one issue, and then the 700 megahertz spectrum auction, which is a different issue. Shure has a program right now which is really aggressive where we're buying back wireless systems that are in a frequency band, the 700 megahertz range, which are in the near future about to become unusable. So I'm going to go through really quickly those two issues, and then I don't want to make it boring, and if I start to see heads nod off, I'll either throw something at you, or I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have about Shure wireless and in-ear monitors and wired microphones. So I'm going to rip through some of this. So here's the agenda. Digital TV, spectrum auctions, white spaces, and what you need to do. The last one, what you need to do is pay attention to me right now. That's the most important thing. Digital TV, we all know that analog TV went away. They flipped the switch last week, and all analog stations are gone, and now we are digital. Why do we have digital TV instead of analog TV? Anyone know the answer to that? Why did they make the transition? Too much free stuff? Well, it's still free as long as you bought the converter box. Two things. Supposedly the picture's supposed to be better, that's one thing, but the real issue is we can fit more crap into a smaller area. So with an analog TV station, it was made of 3 spikes, sound, color, and picture. And one TV station is 6 megahertz wide. So the wireless system, we can fit 7, 8, 10 wireless systems in that one TV channel. So in the good old days when we were analog, we had these spikes, sound, color, and picture. We could actually fit wireless systems in between those little spikes. So we had room to operate in between each analog TV signal. And because of the physics of it, we'd have to leave 2 open TV channels in between the next TV channel. So it would look like this. 2 channels in between. And those channels in between TV stations are called white spaces. So with a digital signal is a block of 6 megahertz, and you don't have to leave any space in between the next TV station. So that's the real reason the FCC went away from analog and into digital, because now digital TV stations can be putted up next to each other, and rather than space in between that us wireless users can use, it looks like this. Just a block of black space that nothing can fit in between, and on and on and on and on. So that's the white spaces issue. Spectrum auctions, and I have cool little slides that are coming up after that. So DTV and white spaces are kind of the same thing, where our white spaces have decreased. We have less room to operate wireless frequencies, microphones in. The other issue is spectrum auctions. Above 700 megahertz, from 698 to 806 to be precise, the FCC took this free stuff that's kind of floating out there that's supposed to be yours and mine and all of ours to use, and they decided they were going to sell it. So for each 6 megahertz chunk, for each TV station, they sold it for $8 billion. And that's sold to Verizon and Microsoft and Google, and I got a slide that will illustrate that a little bit down the line. And what that's going to be used for is cell phones, and it's going to be used for video and streaming audio and video that's coming down your cell phone. So pretty much if you have, and one of the things I'm going to get into in detail, a wireless microphone system that's between 698 and 806, sometime in the next year the FCC is going to come out and say, we auctioned off all that frequency spectrum, you can't use it anymore. Because Verizon and Microsoft and all these other guys that bid $8 billion for that chunk of frequency spectrum, they don't want you screwing around with their investment. So we got to get out of that. We have to vacate all that area. But the good news is Shure is offering a buyback. If it's Shure product, you get a good chunk of money, and even if it's Audio-Technica or Radio Shack or Samsung or anyone else, we'll offer you money back on competitor stuff as well. And it's a lower tiered structure of money that you can get back, and I'll illustrate that in a little while. So if you have a question of just like, well, why don't we go somewhere else in the wireless spectrum? There's our wireless spectrum. There's nowhere left to go. It's all taken up with cell phones and AM radios up there, and FM radio and cell phones, and your remote control cars are in here, and your wireless internet access is in here. And here's the area that we're talking about. TV stations, 14 to 69. And the reason that's so attractive right there is because of the length, the wavelength, which is about 2 feet long. So UHF is a really attractive wavelength that'll go through a wall. I can literally go on the other side of the wall. I might be able to go around 2 corners and behind 2 doors, and I won't have any dropouts because the wavelength can go through metal, drywall, studs, you name it. VHF and some of these other areas, we're not going to have that much success up here or down there. So this is the really sexy part that everybody wants. That's why it's worth so much money. So I just wanted to show you that because people say, well, if there's so much problems where we are, why don't we go somewhere else? There's nowhere left to go, man. Okay, so here's my sexy slide of analog TV. White spaces. So what we have, or what we used to have using, is 470 to 476, channel 14, all the way up to here, up to channel 69, up to 806. That's all the stuff we used to have to play with, and that has decreased greatly. Here's where DTV came in. So DTV, my next couple slides is going to show you, that's all in this kind of area right here, and we have some areas that we can't touch, obviously with a digital TV station that's just going to squash all over a wireless signal. But here's our problem area. From 698 to 806, like I said, all this stuff has been auctioned off, and there's public safety up here. So pretty much in the next year, the FCC is going to come out and say, you got to get out of there. You can't use that at all. So this used to be with the high-end UHF stuff. You guys ever see wireless microphone users on TV that it looks like there's a little, kind of like a pinky, like a nipple sticking on the end of that? All that stuff is up here. That's called UHF. That was our high-end wireless stuff. You'd see YouTube using it in the Black Eyed Peas, et cetera, et cetera. So all that stuff that we made for years and years and years, the FCC basically came in and we said, we're selling all those frequencies off. So as soon as Shure found out about it, we were very proactive in going to Congress and lobbying and saying, hey, this, you know, the FCC decided to sell all this stuff off, but they didn't really think about Vegas shows and Broadway shows and the Super Bowl and all this other kind of stuff. They just saw that the $8 billion for each 6 megahertz and said, sure, we'll give that away. But there was all this other usage that was going on up here, and when we told them, hey, we need a little help, they kind of came and changed their mind a little bit. So we came to a mutual agreement. White spaces devices, all that stuff that's operating below 698 megahertz, there's 2 different things. A portable white space device, that's a BlackBerry, your cell phone. We all know that horrible noise when it's next to your computer speaker. All right, so that's what you're gonna get. That still operates underneath 698 megahertz. And fixed white space devices. These are antennas that they're trying to get put up all over the country, mainly in rural areas, so that you can get broadband internet access on your phone and streaming video. So those are 2 other issues that below 698, even the stuff that's usable these days, UHF and PGX and SLX, we still have these 2 guys to contend with.